still some seats in the front.
I can also speak up, not a problem. So, hi, welcome. My name is Schlomo. I work for a small consultancy here in Berlin. I actually worked at small, medium, and large companies before that, doing all kind of DevOps for actually more than 10 years. And I'm happy to talk a little bit about DevOps at the DevOps Berlin Meetup. And you might be laughing. I still think it's worth talking about DevOps. So here we go. And of course, you know, after 10 plus years doing DevOps, the question is what comes after DevOps? And it's not AI, by the way. So I'm willing to bet each and every one of you has heard at least two of these phrases. Hands up if you didn't. Very good. So what's the problem? The problem is that DevOps came as a thing where management thought we kind of install it and then everybody is happy. And the reality is, of course, not like that. DevOps is something completely different. And I've been explaining DevOps so many times that eventually I figured out an elevator pitch, which I'm actually here to share with you. So if you happen to ride up to the 12th floor with your boss, this will give you something to talk about. So you can start the conversation with, hey, did you know that DevOps is normal? And then you can follow up with, wait, what is actually normal? Are we normal? Hope so. I gave a talk about that. You can find it on my homepage. I'll share it later. So let's talk about something else that most people think is normal. So imagine you're all 17 years old. And what do you dream about when you're 17 years old? Driving your own car, right? My kids did that. I did that when I was a kid. So typical normal, I would say. What stands between you and driving your car? Well, first you study hard for theory. Then you have a lot of practice, supervised. Then you get a certification. And then you finally can ride your own car, right? That's normal. So how do we translate that to the story of developers and operations coming together? So we start with DevOps, obviously. Then we merge them into some kind of shared team. Who of you had underwent that migration? Yeah, typical thing. Yeah, we make shared teams, call them DevOps teams. That's where the head of DevOps comes into play. Then some magic happens, and it's a really great engineering team, right? That's how DevOps works. Well, the reality is a bit more difficult, and to explain that to anybody, just think about how you learn to drive a motorcycle. So when you learn to ride a motorcycle, you go and take a theoretical exam, do a bunch of hands-on lessons at a closed exercise ground, let's call it sandbox, and then you sit on your motorcycle, ride on the street yourself. The driving instructor rides behind you, talks into your ear, says, brake, brake, brake. But you ride yourself, you need to brake yourself. You can hit the tree yourself. You're all alone on your motorcycle without a license on the street. How does that actually work? So I realized suddenly the way how people learn to ride a motorcycle is very similar to how people can learn to be a DevOps. And this is something everybody understands. So what is DevOps? If you ask me, DevOps is doing a lot of things properly. So it's a result. And I came up with these 5 KPIs, which you can use to measure your own doings and your own setup and look how it actually fares with that. Under this link, you'll find a lot of more talks, resources, and explanations for that. It's a couple of years old. I still think it's true. I still think most organizations don't manage to tick off all these 5 checkboxes because it's really, really, really hard. And if you look into it, you have to kind of fix everything in order to get there. And who has time to fix everything? So in an ideal world, you have, and that's the main lesson about DevOps, people on one side, let's call them engineers, Computers on the other side, I call that runtime environments. And it doesn't matter if you're in the data center, in the cloud, a mixture, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's about people on one side and machines on the other side. And the job of DevOps, and I call that happy DevOps campers, is having this constant flow of commands, changes, and stuff going from people, that's DevOps, into computers, that's cloud automation, technology, IAC, whatever. And the main thing about DevOps is really putting all the people on the same side, in my picture on the left side, so that the people work together, kind of, become brothers and sisters against the machines, if you want. That's the DevOps story. So when you do that, then you do DevOps. So do you need a DevOps driving school? I say yes, if you're a big organization. Because DevOps is like a driving license for running code in production. And if you're a bigger organization, you don't let everybody run code in production. So I did this at Deutsche Bahn. We did invent something called a Cloud Führerschein, like a license for running in the cloud. We set up a large department of DevOps coaches who would go and help teams, like a motorcycle driving instructor, to run code in production. And we had a theoretical exam to ensure that teams would know about their compliance obligations before actually going into production on a cloud account. So this is the story of the DevOps driving school, or how you can explain DevOps in an elevator ride up with your boss. Thank you very much. You can find all this stuff on my homepage. I'm now a consultant, and I'm happy to help you. If there's anything I can do for you, please do reach out. I'm easy to find. I love to automate stuff. And thank you for being here.
Are there any questions for Schlomo?
I'll be here all the evening also. Please.
What is the outcome of the training that was provided to the engineers?
The outcome. Well, the outcome is that they learn hands-on how to run stuff in production without fucking up the company.
And any challenges?
In the what?
Any challenges?
Well, the challenge is it's a lot of training. It's a lot of, oh, I didn't think I have to take care of this. And then, of course, you start building developer experience departments or platform engineering departments that go and create a golden path to a golden state, compliance automation, kind of making everybody work on some kind of internal developer platform. That's all that stuff needs to happen. But the problem is it only works well if you have the scale to pay for all of that. So there's a huge challenge for smaller companies to actually do kind of modern engineering in a good fashion, because all the stuff you need to take care of is so much and it's so expensive to take care of it that now we see this rise of developer platforms like Humanitech or others, where they kind of try to sell you, okay, you don't need to do all this small stuff. I can take care of it. If you're a big organization, you typically build your own because, not invented here. So, yeah, please.
Driving exams are like a standard, right? So
Right.
everyone goes to the same exam and
Yeah.
the same certificate. What about your case? Like, does it depend on the company size, the work people do, the business, or what are the parameters changes from one company to other companies and applying those principles?
Well, mostly the logo on the page that says what you need to do in order to be compliant. The actual content is always the same. Data privacy, backup and disaster recovery, storing secrets not in plain text, observability, monitoring, on-call, patching, not having outdated stuff, S-bombs. You name it, it's like all the standard kind of engineering compliance stuff that is relevant if you want to run in production, if you want to show that, if you want to get any kind of certification, you need to have auditability, traceability, change management. It's always the same, just different companies give it slightly different names, but at the core, it's always the same.
Thank you for this speech. I'd like to know the difference between SRE and DevOps in your opinion.
SRE and DevOps are very much not the same. So for me, DevOps is a way how to put people together to work on common problems from different perspectives. That's DevOps. SRE, called Site Reliability Engineering, is really about how do you run production workloads in an extremely professional fashion, like, lots of millions of euros or lives depend on running that. And SRE is really about professionalizing the operations and driving out the bugs of the system and providing a self-service runtime environment to product development teams where they can come and bring their code. And typically with SRE, you have something like, is this application actually production ready? Where SRE says, well, this is junk. We're not going to run it for you. You can run it yourself till you qualify for SRE taking care of it. So they have kind of a quality gate for software in production that you need to pass before SRE will actually start to think about taking care of it. Very different from DevOps. In DevOps, you say, well, some dev people, some ops people, like skill-wise, they just, band together and run this stuff in production. And they solve problems as they come and learn from each other and try to share the knowledge between each other. So typically, smaller organizations would do DevOps, or smaller teams, smaller applications maybe also. But if you go really large, if you have an application that consists of, thousands of microservices, that doesn't work anymore. Then you need professionals who really care about production, who do extremely hardcore professional engineering to keep stuff running in production. And that's kind of a different perspective and a different focus on the problem space. But good question.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And see you next time.